Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's session. We will get started in about a minute. I just wanted to let you know that you're in the right place. So hold tight. We'll get started in about a minute. We're going to let some more people join. All right, we're going to do a little sound check. Can everybody tell me, somebody from the audience, give me a little heads up or a wave that actually you can't do that. So you're going to put it out into the chat and tell me if you can hear us and see everything okay. Sorry about that, guys. All right, thanks, team. I appreciate you. All right, so we are recording today's session. For those who can't make it, I would like to welcome you to the Value of Agile and Scrum Master call. My name is Jamie Anderson. I'm going to be your moderator today, guys. Again, I saw that some of you have already found the question pane. So if you have questions for the moderators, because you guys are all muted, that's how you're going to raise them. That's my role in this presentation today, is to pass them over to our presenters. If you have any technical difficulties, please feel free to hit me up in chat in that pane, or raise your hand, and as soon as I'm muted and hand it over to them, I will take care of you and make sure that you guys can see everything that you need to. So, who's here with me today? So I'm joined by Marie LaFriend and Rich Weller. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey. So Marie LaFriend, she's a project program and portfolio management specialist. She's been focused on creating and personalizing solutions to address customer-specific challenges. She's certified as a PMP, a Safe Scrum Master, and she's also certified in JIRA. So she's been working in Agile environments and is a Scrum Master. So she's going to talk to us about that value today. Rich Weller is an Agile certified project and portfolio management specialist with nearly 30 years. He's a college instructor, a frequent speaker, and he definitely shares his passion for AI and project management with everybody that he gets a chance to. So thank you, guys. I'm excited about today's session and talking about the value of Agile and Scrum Masters. So over to you, Marie.
Thank you, Jamie, for the introduction. So what are we going to see? What are the goals of today's session? And first of all, welcome for joining the webinar. So first of all, we're going to understand what is Agile. Also know what is a Scrum Master. And after digging a little into these two notions, we will see the value of transitioning to Agile. So those points sound a little bit theoretical, but we also will see a few case studies so you can see real life example of what have been done. So first of all, what is Agile? So a little bit of definition. Agile, as in the adjective, is actually the ability to create and respond to change in order to succeed in an uncertain and turbulent environment. So let's say pretty much today's environment. So it's really the idea of quickly responding to a change and being able to adjust to what comes your way. And then there's the Agile, the noun, which is with a capital, which is a project management methodology and mindset. So it's defined by 4 values that we're going to see in a minute. It's also guided by 12 principles, and it can be realized for different practices that you may have heard before. There is Kanban, Scrum, Extreme Programming, and so much more. The purpose of that methodology is to be very flexible and adaptable. So those two definitions are very similar, but one is the adjective, is the action of being adjustable, when the other one is really a methodology. So what are the 4 core values? The first one is to be aligned. Ensure that you're going on the same direction, your team is working towards the same goals, everyone going in the same direction. We also have built-in quality. So that one is really trying to have quality at every step of the way and really included in everything you're doing. And why we do that is to really avoid any type of cost for the rework. And that cost can be monetary, but also can be time. So earlier you build your quality, better it is. We also have transparency. We really want to make sure that there is visibility, not only of the work that is performed, but also the progress and any roadblocks. Earlier you are aware of your roadblocks, better you can address them and fix them. Based on those 3 core values, the last one is program execution. You can have alignment, quality, and transparency. If you don't actually perform the work, it's not going to be that useful. So really the last core value is to focus on the execution of the work. And all of that is really made around customer centricity. So let's dig a little bit more into customer centricity. What is it? It is a mindset that will give you better user satisfaction. And how is that going to happen? First of all, we're going to focus on the customer. Really put the customer in the middle of everything that you are developing. Understand the customer needs. Really try to see what is the customer expecting. Not what we think he wants, but really what does he want, not what we want to sell to them. Think and feel like the customer. Put yourself into their shoes. Understand their way of living and really understand what do they need. Also, build a whole product solution. Don't just try to fix one-time issue, but really try to think about what will be the big picture that will help my customer. And finally, know the customer lifetime value. Kind of repeated it from the one before, but that one is really just saying not a one-time thing, but try to really build a long-time relationship with your customer. How are we going to do that? As we said earlier, there is an agile mindset. So we are uncovering different ways of developing the product, the services. And what the teams have come up through is it is better to focus on individual and interaction over processes and tools, but also working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and finally, responding to change over following a plan. So those are like the real mindset to implement Agile. Just keep in mind, as even though we are seeing value on the right, those are not going away. They're still here, but the idea is to really focus more and giving more value to the items that are on the left.
Hey, Marie, this is Rich. Can I jump in right here?
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for doing this with me. I sure appreciate you and I respect your wisdom and experience. The one thing I wanted to make sure we called out here is that you'll notice down on the bottom there that we've got the source for this information here is coming from the Agile Manifesto itself, right? Which, was put together, was it 20 years ago, real recently, I believe, and it's still alive and well today. And I can tell you from my real world experience of working with people that are kind of just getting started and trying to understand Agile and the role of a Scrum Master, one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have is that, oh, if we take an Agile methodology, we don't have to do any documentation, or we don't have a plan. We just kind of do things ad hoc. And this slide right here is what you're showing and teaching us is, well, it's not exactly true. We do prefer the things that are on the left. That's where we put our value and our time and our emphasis, but still that we still have to do the things on the right at times.
Exactly, and I will even go further. It's like you cannot focus on what is on the right, on the left, sorry, if you don't have a little bit of what is on the right. How are you going to work into the individual and the interaction if you don't have any processes and tools to allow that? How are you going to have software that are working if you don't have any documentation that helps you build it? And so it's, as you're saying, Rich, is like, this is not going away. And I think one of the biggest misunderstanding is about the plan. Yes, Agile still have planning and coordination. It's just we're responding to change and adapting that plan. But to adapt that plan, you need one in the first place. So now, what is the state of Agile in 2021? So according to the 5th State of Agile report published in July this year, nearly 50% of the respondents said that the majority of their teams have adopted Agile. And what are the key reasons for that? The first one is the ability to manage changing priorities. We said it, we all know we are in a very variable environment where change are constant, but also the acceleration in delivery. And we're going to see that a little bit later with Rich. And finally, also an increase in the team productivity. Well, those are 3 key reasons why to move to Agile, or the reason why those respondents have moved to Agile, and that's the benefits that they've seen. Let's go a little bit more into the benefits of Agile. So as we've seen earlier, you have greater ability to incorporate changes. You have faster time to market, and you have an increase in productivity. But that's not it. There is more to it. You also have fewer defects and higher quality. Remember, one of the core value was building quality. If you build your quality from start, you're going to have less defect and you won't need to redo the work. You can enhance the delivery predictability. Yes, we said we can adapt to the change, but with the way of working Agile, you also know the teams, what they can produce over time. You improve the project visibility. We said it. Another core value was the alignment. If you have alignment, you have visibility on where you're going. High customer engagement and better user satisfaction. We've seen it over customer centricity. We're really involving the customer on what we're building for them. And we also have an increase in employee satisfaction. As an employee, it's so much easier to know what you have to work on, what is your deadline, and how you can adapt and make sure that you are allowed to fail and change the way you're working or the way you're developing things. Those are the benefit of Agile.
Hey, Marie, again, if I could jump in here, and we see an image there on the bottom right, and just calling out the fact that that's coming from scaledagile.com. Now, here's what I know. I mean, you know, we kind of question some of these stats that we see sometimes, and the fact that this is coming from the Scaled Agile organization. You may say, yeah, is that true? Is that right? Or are they just making those numbers up? So I know the behind the scenes, and if you're interested in this information, you can go to the Scaled Agile website, and you can find the case studies that Scaled Agile has on file. You can sort them by industry, I believe by geography as well. But the stats that are coming here on this report have actually been compiled based upon these case studies that have been submitted by the organizations themselves who have transformed or adopted various aspects of Agile. And so again, these statistics are rolling up from the organizations themselves who have implemented Agile or SAFe. So I always find that rather interesting. It's not built by Scaled Agile themselves, but a culmination of the data.
Yeah, great addition, Rich. All right, so now we're gonna allow a few minutes for questions.
All right, guys, so I sent you over a couple questions. It was more comments that were coming in originally. During the pandemic, you know, I think when you were talking about the difference between what we value, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, do you guys have any comments on that? His comment was, that processes and tools are quite important.
It is, and it kind of circled back to what we were saying. When we were doing that comparison between the items on the right and on the left, we were not saying we're not doing anything on the right, and so we're not saying we're not doing tools and processes. It's just we're focusing on what is on the left, and I hope I did not mess up my right and my left again. So yeah, during the pandemic, definitely tools were important, but this is not where we focus. It's more the interaction. Definitely during pandemic, tools help to do that interaction. Rich, you're on mute.
Yes, and you'll see here in just a moment, we will talk about a process, that process being the Scrum framework. So that's upcoming, and we'll give you a little bit more information about that.
Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Any other questions?
Not for now. Let's continue on. And hey to everybody else, send over those questions, and we'll intersperse them throughout the conversation today to keep it kind of a little bit punchy.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the fun part, is when you come in here and you engage with us and you challenge us. And please, let's stump the experts and give us homework and go away and figure out the answers if we need to. So we look forward to those questions and those challenges. So let me pick up from here. So the next topic is to talk about the role of the Scrum Master. So let me share my screen and we'll talk about that. And now sharing my screen, and if I go into play mode here, Marie, am I sharing my screen okay from now?
We're seeing the screen and the presentation mode.
All right, great. So again, I would like to talk with you a little bit more about the role of the Scrum Master and the value that the Scrum Master brings to an organization and to a team. So, but first off, we have to answer the question: what exactly is a Scrum Master? So, a Scrum Master is a servant leader, and they work to coach and acts as a coach for the Agile team. The Scrum Master role, that role is filled by a team member, and their primary responsibility is just to assist the team, to help the team achieve their goals. And that team, the team itself, is self-organizing and self-managing. Well, how does the Scrum Master do this? The Scrum Master does this through teaching and coaching of team building best practices. This is one of the key ways that the Scrum Master provides value to the team. Also, the Scrum Master does this by implementing and supporting those Agile principles, processes, and techniques. And also, one of the big key roles, at least from my perspective, and that's what I've always tried to do for the teams that I've worked with, is to identify and eliminate those impediments. In other words, those roadblocks that might be out in front of the team. I always talk and say, my role is to grease the skids so that the team can move faster and more efficiently and more effectively, and allow the team to do what they do best. They're subject matter experts that are there as part of our team to build whatever the product, solution, or result is that we're trying to bring to life. And my job is to make their jobs easier. And we also talk about facilitating flow. So again, that's all about moving things through our process and through our stages, from things that need to get done to things that we need to do, all the way through to done, and being able to do that as quickly, effectively as we possibly can. So here's one thing again that I want to talk about, again, from my experience in the real world. I need to kind of set aside something here that I see is kind of like a misconception. A Scrum Master is not the same as a traditional project manager. It's just not. And how do you, why are you saying that, Rich? What's behind that? Why do you say that? Well, first off, when we talk about the team that a Scrum Master works with, it's a small team, a cross-functional team, anywhere from 5 to 11 individuals. And from my experience in this world as a project manager, very few of the projects that I've worked on are that small. Most of them are much larger than 11 individuals. So that's one of the first differentiators between the two roles. The next thing is that the Scrum Master really guides the team, and with a focus on team dynamics. If you may not be familiar with the phrase Tuckman's ladder, but I'm sure you're familiar with those stages of team development, and that is forming, storming, norming, and performing. And this is really what the Scrum Master focuses on, is trying to get that team of 5 individuals performing as one unit, as one team. And it's all about building the team spirit, building that trust, and getting them, again, moving away from 5 individuals as one united team. So the Scrum Master really focuses on the team dynamics. And in addition to that, unlike a project manager who is ultimately responsible for the project, a Scrum Master works to make the team accountable for the project. And so those are just a few of the major differences between a Scrum Master and a traditional project manager. And let's talk now about the various roles within Scrum and the communication model that exists. So we've talked about our Scrum Master role already, so we'll put our Scrum Master on the board here first. And so the Scrum Master, as you have heard from my previous slide, interacts closely with the team, with the delivery team or the development team, depending on which school of camp you come from. But this delivery team, they're our cross-functional team, our subject matter experts who are helping us bring this project to life. And so the Scrum Master's role is really to protect that team. And then there's another role here that we need to talk about, and this is the role of the product owner. So the product owner too, they interact. You can see the Scrum Master interacts with the product owner, and the product owner also interacts with that delivery team. And this combination here, this group, this set here of the delivery team, the Scrum Master, and the product owner, this is your Agile team. Again, this is the 5 to 11 individuals that was referenced on the previous slide. And this team is cross-functional, as I mentioned earlier. They're self-organized, meaning they get their work and work to determine what's what's of highest priority and what needs to be done first and what needs to be done next. And they're also self-managed, meaning, hey, John, you take that piece of work, you're good at that aspect, and Sally, you're good at that, and I'll take care of this. It's a self-managed team. And so this, again, is the Agile team as a whole, 5 to 11 members. Now let's come back to that role of the product owner for just a moment, because that product owner, very similar to how the Scrum Master has specific roles and responsibilities, or has specific responsibilities, the role of the product owner also has some responsibilities as well. And the product owner is really the interface, or the represents the customer and the business owners in the model. So they are the conduit to help bring this product to life with respect to prioritizing the features and functionality that either the customer or the business owners are looking to have as part of this project. So this is the various roles in the Scrum model, as well as how they communicate and work collaboratively together. And this, yeah.
I was going to say, I shot you over a question that seemed pretty timely here.
Go for it.
All right, so we always refer to the team you put on there self-organizing, self-managing, but not self-leading. Does that responsibility fall on the Scrum Master?
Again, no, I would still say self-leading. I mean, we'd probably have to debate the difference between self-managed and self-leading. I think that combination of being of self-managed, I think that's really close. really close to the same thing as far as identifying what we should be working on and when, and the direction that we go. It's really, again, the Scrum Master is not so much is not leading or directing the team, like maybe more of the traditional project manager would. The Scrum Master's role is more to ensure that things are working as efficiently as possible. The role of the product owner would actually be not so much as far as leading the team, but the product owner prioritizes what is most important coming from the business owners and the customer, and it's that delivery team that then takes what's most important and brings that to life as quickly as possible. So I still say that, that combination of self-managing and self-organizing leads to, or is equivalent to, self-leading.
Because something, if I can jump in quickly, we need to keep in mind is like, so the delivery team is really the one who is going to define how to do the work. The product owner is going to tell you what needs to be done, but it's the team with their specific skills and their specific knowledge that are going to say how. So in that sense, they're leading the how the job is going to be done. But it's not like, we need, as Rich is saying, we need to be careful when we talk about leading, because we usually see it as the classic project management leading, and it's a different mindset here within Agile, and so it's just being careful on there.
That sounds like a good article for us to write, Marie. Maybe that's an article in our future. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to let you get back into it, but we will pause in a second because we have a lot of questions around the difference of the Scrum Master and the Project Manager. So let's leave ourselves some time to come back on those. Thanks.
Sure, sounds great. And the last bullet that I'll put up here is, with this role of the product owner interfacing with the business owner and the customer, that's where we get our highest level of customer engagement, is through that interface. So, we may ask, well, what are the benefits of having this Scrum Master? One, they act as that servant leader, again, really taking care of the team itself, just protecting the team, and they facilitate the various events that the team needs to conduct, and we'll take a look at those here in just a moment. Again, the Scrum Master facilitates these different events, or sometimes we call them ceremonies. I already mentioned that the Scrum Master works to remove impediments or anything that's blocking the team, anything that's causing noise for the team, that Scrum Master can do to get those out of the way and let the team focus on what it is that they do best. And the Scrum Master also assists in preparing or refining the backlog, and working with the product owner as well as the rest of the team to refine that backlog. We'll talk just a little bit more about the product backlog here in just a moment, and helps the team prepare for the next iteration or sprint that's upcoming. And finally, number 5 here, the Scrum Master really helps the team become high performing. Again, I'll move back to that Tuckman's ladder, the stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. And as a Scrum Master, I want to get my team over to that performing level, and even that high performing level, as quickly as I can, because that's where the team is most efficient and most effective. I've actually had the privilege in my career to work with not all of them, I would say, not all of the teams I've worked with, I would say, are high performing, but I have been able to work with a couple of teams that I would put in that high performing category. And we just say, okay, Rich, well, how do you define that, or how do you differentiate? And I think one of the core areas is just trust. The team has a high level of trust amongst one another. You understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and really they function as one. They function as one unit. And the last high performing team I was on, I never worried what was right around the corner. I saw over the course of time that we evolved to the point where no matter what you tossed into this team's hopper, or we'll say backlog, the team was able to figure out how to take it, tear it apart, and figure out what it needed to be done and deliver the end result is just very quickly and very effectively. So again, getting to that high performing team is a great thing, and the longer you can stay at that level, you can do, the high performing team can do amazing things. So
And
just to kind of
just
go
add
ahead,
up
Rick.
one more thing on the being a high performing team is like really when you're in that stage is like you can rely on your coworker blinded. You have it comes back to the trust that Rich was talking, and it's just oh, I trust you. It's really it's above that. It's really I rely on you. I know, as you're saying, whatever comes up, everyone knows what they have to do. Everyone knows their part, and the team works well together and rely on each other.
Yeah, and it's fun, and that's, you go back to one of those bullet points of those values that we showed earlier. Just the team is having fun. It's so fun to be a part of a team like that, because you can do great things and have fun doing it. So just to kind of summarize here, there's a couple bullet points. That Scrum Master, the benefit is that coach, and coaches the team and ultimately improves the process or processes. And yes, they do exist. They do exist. And then they secondarily here, this benefit is they foster the adoption of agile techniques or processes. And I'll come back here with respect to this and talk about agile. So there's as Marie mentioned earlier, there's a number of different agile frameworks or approaches that exist out there. There's XP, DAD, discipline agile delivery. There's Kanban. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of them out there, SAFe or the Scaled Agile Framework. But the one that is the most common, the one approach that is the most common is the Scrum approach, or the Scrum framework. And this Scrum framework, it's basically the process that the Scrum Master helps put in place and run and works with the team to get the team to execute and follow this process. So the Scrum framework, it is a simple framework for effective team collaboration on complex projects, and we take this Scrum framework and we apply this on projects where there's a lot of uncertainty, and that's your differentiator between, hey, should this project be a traditional project, or traditional / waterfall, or should we take a more agile approach like leverage Scrum? And the answer really is determined by, if there's a lot of uncertainty in this project, then you should follow an agile approach. And again, we would recommend starting off with the Scrum framework, because it's simple and effective. And what does it look like? Here's a picture of the Scrum framework. As you can see, it comes from scrum.org. And it, there is a process here, and to adopt this approach or this framework, one of the first things that you would need to do is establish a shared vision and alignment for just what is it that this project is trying to achieve. And then from that, we take all requirements, any features, functionality, requirements, anything that we would like to see this product, solution, result produce, and we put it into our product backlog. And within this product backlog, this is our hopper of everything that we need to do for this project. And it's that role of the product owner who works to prioritize this listing of items that are in the product backlog. It is the development team who takes each one of those, the development or delivery team that takes each one of those items that are in the product backlog and sizes them. How difficult is this going to be? How difficult is each one of these items going to be? So with that combination in place, the next step in the process is the team conducts what's called sprint planning. And in this sprint planning session, this is where we pull from the product backlog those items that are of the highest priority, and we put them into our sprint backlog, and we pull out just enough for what we can achieve over the next upcoming sprint, as we say here in the Scrum framework, or iteration. Sprint or iteration, those are two interchangeable terms. And the length of most the most common length of sprints. Sprints can be anywhere between 1 and 4 weeks, but the most common duration for a sprint is 2 weeks. So as we're now again pulling out only the items, the team is pulling out only the items that they feel that they can achieve or complete over the next 2 weeks, and they're putting those into the sprint backlog. And what this does, what this allows us to do is, instead of trying to do everything all at once, we're really now focusing on trying to be productive and focusing on productivity. So we're focusing on only those things that we believe we can get done. You all know what happens when we try to do too much, nothing gets done. And so once the team agrees that, hey, we believe that we can achieve these things over the next sprint, then they take off and they perform, or they start the sprint. During the life each day of the sprint, the team comes together, same place, same time, every day, and they conduct what's called a daily scrum here. Daily scrum, daily stand up, interchangeable terms, but the team comes together and really answers, hey, what each member of the team answers what they worked on yesterday, what they're going to work on today, and if they need help in any way, and they're there with the team and they're answering those questions. And again, we're following that on a daily cycle. And at the end, and with that daily cycle, that's where we focus on execution. We really focus only on what it is that we're working on, nothing more than that. And then at the end of the sprint, this is where we conduct what's called a sprint review. And that's where we show or demonstrate what we produced over the life of that sprint to any of our stakeholders. And we take the information from that sprint review. This is where we would get feedback. We would get that quick feedback, and this is where we adapt to change. So we take that feedback and we incorporate that feedback back into our product backlog. And again, it would get prioritized or reprioritized alongside everything else that's in there. Again, once complete with what we produced within that sprint, that's when we would release that increment, getting our product out to the market. That maybe this is our minimal viable product that we're getting out to the market as quickly as we can, so we can start getting value back into the business as quickly as possible. Also, after the sprint review, we would come back together as a team and conduct what's called a sprint retrospective. And that's really where we talk about, well, what did we do right over the last sprint or iteration? And then, and the reason we go after that is because that's what we want to reproduce over the next one. But we also talk about, well, what could we do better over the next upcoming sprint? And that's where we focus on that continuous improvement and focus on quality as well. So this is a quick high-level overview of the Scrum framework. And again, it's the Scrum Master's role to help the team understand all of these ceremonies, help with facilitating the ceremonies, and again, helping this team move as quickly as possible. So with that,
Right.
I think before we move to the next section, we'll maybe pause and see if there's any other questions.
We got a lot of questions coming in. We're going to need to like rapid fire answer them to get through as many as possible. So first one up, do these Scrum principles better apply to certain industries, in your opinion?
Better apply to industries? I'm going to say no. I mean, because, and here's what I see. Once you start learning and understanding some of these principles, you can apply them all over the place, anywhere around you. I catch myself all the time going, oh, I'm trying to do an old school thing here, and I should focus on a smaller increment, and so that I can move this through quickly. In my opinion, again, for being in the project management profession for nearly 30 years and working with Scrum or Agile since 2012, I won't say that it's better in one industry than the other. There's principles. These principles, once you learn them, you can incorporate them anywhere and everywhere.
Thanks for that. So next one up. So the PM typically took care of like scheduling, budgeting, customer interactions. In an Agile world, who has the responsibility of budgeting?
So I have seen that role played by the, and from my perspective, we've implemented Agile following the scaled Agile framework, and we've seen budgeting done at the portfolio level or at the program level. So it's not so much at the project level, it's done up at the program level, because remember these teams are 5 to 11. And within the scaled Agile framework, we move up. Instead of trying to manage budgets at the project level, we focus on managing budgets at the program level. And then that role, it's more held by the PO, the product. It's called the product manager at the Agile release train level.
Thanks for that one. All right, we got a non-believer here. So I have a hard time believing that an Agile project can work without a pilot that will decide and drive everyone. How's that work?
That an Agile project, so if you're talking about transforming to an Agile way of working, absolutely. Set up a team, run a pilot. That's exactly how we suggest doing it. Put the roles into place, put people into the roles, put the process in place, and run the pilot, and see how it turns out. And from our experience from working with SAFE and helping organizations transform to Agile ways of working, that's exactly what we do. We pick a program, we take that program as a pilot, we come in, put people in the right roles and in the right places, and run the pilot and take the lessons learned. And here's one of those Agile principles, right? You run a sprint, you take that, get to the end of the pilot or the end of that iteration, you do your retrospective, you say what worked, great, let's do that again. What can we do better? You make the change, make that improvement, and move forward and do another crank.
And I just wanted to, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
I just wanted to counter on that one. Don't you need one person kind of leading the team and setting direction? Like the typical project manager of the past?
Oh, again, remember, you're talking about the Agile team is self-organized, self-managed. I mean, we're driven. That project is being driven by the vision that's set up. Hey, we're going in this direction. We're talking about these projects again, and I mentioned already that we undertake, it's best to use Agile or Scrum when there's a lot of uncertainty. Well, we don't know exactly how we're going to get there, but that is the direction we're going to go. And you guys are the smart people, because you're part of this team. You help us figure out what's the best way to get there, and we'll do it an increment at a time, a step at a time. And you take a shot at taking that first step. Let us take a look at what you've done, and as the business owner or the customer, we'll give you our feedback and help guide you and direct you towards that overall vision, that overall end result.
And then the Scrum Master does support the team if they have questions on how to implement the Agile, but it's not like leaning, as we can see sometimes, a traditional project manager being behind people, and it's like, hey, you're supposed to deliver at that time. It's you have 3 days to give it to me. Give me your percentage of completion. We don't have that role in Agile. Again, it's really the team. We give them 2 weeks to perform what they have to do, and we are leaving them alone for those 2 weeks. Unless during the daily stand-up or daily Scrum, they're raising a roadblock, and then that's also where the Scrum Master comes in and like, okay, what is the roadblock? Let's try to figure out how to have it removed so you guys can go back and focus on the work again. But there's not that role of traditional project manager.
Thanks, guys.
Any other questions, Jamie?
We have millions. We might need to, no, not millions. We have a few questions. Some of those we might have to get to after and follow up because they're quite specific on different industries and different budgeting methods. So let's come back to those offline and we'll continue with the presentation. Go ahead and keep the questions coming, guys, and I'll try and tee them in.
All right, let me reshare my screen here, and let's see, reverse again. There we go. You should be able to see my screen as presenter mode. So as we're saying, and we've seen, like, there's at least one non-believer. So let's show some real life example with a few, like a couple case studies. So the first one was like in a luxury automotive OEM. So in this situation, the client needed to improve their way of working to deliver to the customer quicker. They were trying to deliver some technology on the car, and like by the time it was developed, it was already outdated. So the organization really needed to be more efficient and more productive, making sure that that product was going to the market faster. So what happened is, like, the team implemented Agile methodology and helped deliver multiple solutions in a timely manner. So that was complex, 20 work stream that needed to be delivered as soon as possible. They implemented Agile, and they were able to do that. But not only they were able to deploy these 20 work streams, but it also allowed them cost saving and way more problem solving, because again, what we're saying with that transparency, if you tell the roadblock what is happening, you can resolve it way quicker, and you have an entire team. It's not everyone working on their own, it's really sharing the team and using the entire team skill set. So that was one of the first case study that was to implement some Agile methodology and the value of implementing Agile. That second case study is also automotive, and again, we were implementing Agile. So on that one, the client needed to improve the visibility and the cross-functional work. And why was that? Because the client is working in a very changing and very rapidly changing environment. So there were a need for better transparency and planning of the needed activities. It's changing all the time. What do we need to go? Where do we have to go? How can we adjust? When the client really needed that vision, and like, how can we adapt to what the customer needs or what is coming our way? In this example, we actually acted as a Scrum Master, and we have implemented the Agile methodology. And as we were saying earlier with that pilot, that's how we actually started. We first took a small team from different of those silos that was in that organization, and we had a project, and we delivered that project on Agile methodology. And because it was successful, then we moved that to the entire department, entire organization, to be moving towards Agile. But not only we implement and created all of those ceremonies, but we also supported and coaching. We coached the teams, meaning is that we didn't just like, okay, let's put Agile and then leave. We were also training with us and getting with us all of the teams and on the client side, so they are able to, one, understand the value, and two, they are able to actually implement and understand what is the Agile and how to work in that new way. And so what did it create? It was a way better communication and visibility, but also an improvement in the execution. The team was able to perform closer to their commitment because they knew what was coming. They knew where they're going. Again, not always knowing how, but they knew where they were going. And every 2 weeks, having a review of where they are, what is missing, what is the next step, really helped them. And they learned becoming a performing team. They knew what they can check within 2 weeks. So they knew how to work together and how to align within the team. So that one, and the Scrum Master here really helped putting in place those ceremonies, coaching the principal, answering any question that they had, and we also supported any needed training that the team was required. All right, any question on those case studies?
Maybe we could just go on to the next one.
All right, so now we're going to the conclusion. And I will head it back to you, Rich.
Yeah, just let's click through here so we can get over to answer some more questions here. So just kind of wrap things up here. What value does our organization bring to this whole mix that we've been talking about? So the first thing that we offer is we, as I mentioned earlier, not only myself but our organization has years of experience in an agile environment, and it's not just strictly agile. We work in where we have organizations where we have a hybrid, where we have some projects that are straight traditional, some projects that are straight agile, some projects that are high, and some projects that are a mixture of the two. So we have experience across the board in all industries. And in addition to that, we help our clients define a clear state for their targeted future state, because how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you want to go? And that's what we do, is help define, well, we want to go there, and we can help our clients define that, and then help build a roadmap to get you there. Number 3 is we coach teams. We provide agile coaches to various teams to help institute the Scrum, the various agile principles, processes, and techniques, the Scrum methodology. We coach with the various roles like the Scrum Master, as well as the product owner, as well as the team. And then number 4, we support agile transformation projects. So it's not just maybe not just, we could do one team at a time, but we really like to look at help organizations as a whole transform into more agile ways of working. And I always like to say that transforming to agile is a dial, not a switch. You have to slowly turn it up and get better and better over time, becoming more and more agile as an organization. And then finally, the last value that we bring to the table is we are a partner of Scaled Agile, and Scaled Agile is the provider of SAFE, which is the Scaled Agile framework, which basically takes that Scrum methodology from the team level and allows you to scale it up and throughout your entire organization. So with that, that's our little pitch in a nutshell. Hopefully you got some value from what we've shared thus far, and we do have a few minutes left, so I'm anxious to get back to the questions.
Awesome, thanks guys. All right, so first one, talk to me about some challenges that might be faced in someone, either moving into a Scrum Master role or transforming into an Agile organization. What are some of those typical things that they face, and how do they overcome those?
Yeah,
you go first, Marie, you go first.
I said the first challenges is really that change of mindset. It is so hard. We think that it's just another tool or something, but it's really a change on how people are working. We're really empowering the team, and it can be very difficult and very disturbing for the team to have on their hand the power of like how I'm going to do my job, especially in companies that have been there for a long time, that are used to be, okay, I'm going to tell you what you need to do and how to do it and when to do it. It is a really change of mind, and because of that change of mind, it's not going to happen overnight, and that's something that needs to be clear in everyone's head. It's not, as Rich mentioned, it's not going to be a switch. It takes time, it takes iteration, and it's very important to encourage and make the team feel okay to fail, because that's how you learn. There is actually no failure. It's only lessons learned and improvement. But that's all of those things are something totally new usually for teams, and that's very hard for them to get into that.
I love that phrase there. I love what you said there, Marie. There's a phrase that I learned somewhere along the way. We either win or we learn. Mm-hmm. And I apply that, and that's like with those iterations. You start off small, you just add to it, keep going. I'll come back. I'd like to talk a little bit bigger picture with like agile transformation, and what are the biggest challenges that I've seen there in helping organizations transform. And I think the biggest challenge that I've seen is the gap in the understanding between what like executives or senior executives believe Agile is versus what it really is. And you know, one of the things that we've done in the past is we actually have a course called Leading Safe, which is geared to do just that. It's geared for executives to help executives understand this Scrum framework, to these different roles, the Scrum Master, Product Owner, and also the overall safe framework, Scaled Agile framework, and how that Scrum fits into the overall levels of the organization. So that's one of the biggest challenges I've seen, just that gap of understanding between what it is and what people believe it is.
Nice. Another one for you. So what are some of the other metrics besides like stories complete that you can use to track team performance as a Scrum Master?
Yeah. So this is one So this is a concept that I just thought of just the other day, and I'm not going to answer this question directly, but it's so near to my mind that I can't think of anything else at the moment. So one of the things that I've thought of, just like last week, and I went to do some research to see if this exists out there, and I didn't find it. But as we're doing those retrospectives, you know, right now we capture what worked well, what could we do better, but we don't really quantify that. And I was thinking, like, it would be real easy to say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, how did we do? How did we do this iteration? And give that a numerical value. And now you keep track of that, which is a little bit different dimension, a little bit different metric than just how many story points were completed, that we don't really capture anywhere else as far as metrics. And that's an interesting concept, to capture that value over time and see if you're trending, you know, positively or negatively. So that's one area.
All right, so they met the call on Stump the Presenter. And so if an Agile methodology is adopted, how can we relieve the pressure of our customers from cost overruns?
Yep, this one's one I've stumbled into before. So this is one that I struggle with answering. I worked with a large client in the past, and here's the best I got. So this goes from a case study from the past, referencing Harley Davidson. And what Harley Davidson did, they looked at their projects, and they looked into their past, and they said, you know, which of our projects would we deem, you know, successful versus unsuccessful related to cost management. And they found a correlation between the size of the contracts and the size of the proposals that they put together. So the smaller, and this is totally counterintuitive to the way most of us think, right? This is another one of those like Agile mindset, like you got to shift. It's hard, but you got to shift. But what they found was, when they write smaller contracts and then they deliver to that contract, it's easier to manage that project, easier to manage that budget, bring that home. Now you got to win, and now you go write your second phase of the project, the contract for the second phase, and you do it incrementally. And so that's that, you know, Agile concept of almost setting up iterations where they're smaller projects and delivering just on that, and letting the customers see that and build upon that, just similar to how we handle the sprints. So again, Harley Davidson case study, you can go Google it.
So similar to rolling wave planning, you've got rolling wave budgeting and cost management. I like it, Rich.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, hey, we are at time here. I want to give an opportunity to put, if people have follow-up questions, who they want to talk to. Of course, we want to help you guys in transitioning to Agile. We definitely see the benefit internally to us. I want to say that you can contact me. I'm Jamie Anderson. So contact me at jamie.anderson@pcube.com. We'll definitely do my best to reroute to the right person in the organization that can help you. Again, I really want to thank both you, Rich, and Marie, for today's conversation. It was a great one. I will follow up with everybody offline and send you guys some PDF of the slides and the link to the recording. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Bye-bye.